Wow, another busy week at Blue Fin Aquatics. We've had some of our African cichlids spit out some babies, and also some of our South Americans also have spat out babies as well. But also something new that we've got is the Egyptian mouth brooders. They've also spat out their babies too after having them in their mouths for about 3 weeks. And also we've had some Corydoras hatch out from their eggs as well. So it's been quite busy this week trying to organise these fish and put them into their own tanks. And we keep going as we do. All right, what we're going to be talking about in this video is we're going to be talking about your discus again in regards to the very beginning, as soon as the discus basically lay their eggs on the cone, and then from there onwards we'll take you to the end when you should start feeding them as in foods, and also getting them into feeding the adult feed as well. So it's going to be a bit of a process, but we're going to walk you through it, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, welcome back to Blue Fin Aquatics, where we share our knowledge and experience with you. Like we said in the open in regards to your discus, we're going to start from the very beginning. So you've got your pairs going in your discus, and what we're going to do is we're going to go start from your actual breeding cone which you have. So we've got eggs on here and they're all viable, and how we know the eggs are viable is because the eggs themselves are more like a honey colour, and if they're not fertilised, they're going to be a white eggs, so they basically won't be any good. So what we're going to be looking at is that when your eggs do hatch and they turn into wrigglers, it usually takes roughly about 3 to 4 days, but depending on the water temperature, that plays a very big part in hatching of your wrigglers. So what happens basically, once they hatch from wriggler stage, they go into basically into setting themselves up to form fins and form tails and so forth, and start to grow their bodies a bit. So, and this roughly takes about 5 days, 6 days, like we were saying, depends on the temperature of the water. Now the thing is with that is that you've got to keep an eye on, because sometimes too that the parents do eat their babies for whatever reason, but we're going to go into that in another topic in the in videos. But basically what you do, once they start to form and they start to come away from the breeding cone, they start free swimming basically, and the parents will be sitting quite close to them. So the first thing they're going to see is basically their parents. And the idea, some of the discus with the babies, they do go a darker colour because that attracts the babies, and that's generally how it happens. But if your tank isn't white on the outside, just get some butcher's paper on the outside, cover it so it's white. So really the darkened colour that you've actually got in there is the babies, and with the parents, so babies will sit to the parents, so they'll find them a lot easier. So basically from there, once they're free swimming, you look at feeding them. Now from this point onwards, roughly for about 3 to 4 weeks, you won't really need to do anything. The parents will be feeding them themselves, which they do from the slime off their bodies, and that is basically like milk with a cow. They all just hang on and they take little pieces of basically off the flesh, or the slime coat I should say, off the discus, and the parents do swap around. Sometimes the male will have them, sometimes the female will have them, and by them letting them go and they've had their go at it, they just swim off faster, and the parent who is left behind gets the babies. So generally after about 3 to 4 weeks, you can then start weaning them off the parents gradually by basically hatching fresh baby brine shrimp, which we've done a video on this before and given you a bit of a tip on how to do it, make it very easy for yourself. So once this happens, then you start feeding them the baby brine shrimp, and you'll see that they'll come away from their parents. And at that point too, at the 4 to 5 week stage, and they're at their parents, you'll start to see them start to change their shape. So they'll be looking a little bit more like discus, but quite small. So what you need to do from there onwards is that to keep them feeding them brine shrimp, and also they'll also be eating off the slime coat off their parents. Now after about the 5th to 6th to 7th week, what you're going to need to do is you're going to start introducing some beef heart, but really fine beef heart, so the babies can actually digest that, and to get the growth on them. Now to get the good growth on your babies, it starts from the very, very beginning. So the formula that we look at is after about 6 to 7 weeks, and they've got the shape of the little discus, we start feeding them the beef heart, and once we feed them the beef heart, they start to grow. Now, as I was saying, the formula to this is that this is how it generally works, is that the water itself must be roughly around about 28 to 30 degrees, and also the food has got to be the beef heart, but very finely chopped. Now, also the water has a very big part in it too, because the more you feed, the more water change you have to do. So what we're talking about in growth, we're talking about with the formula of the metabolic, basically the metabolic rate of the body growing. So the more they eat, the more they grow, and of course more water changes that you need to be doing. So that's very, very important stage, because if you put too much food or they're not eating at all, you can set the tank up to fail, because you'll have rotten debris food on the bottom and you'll need to clean that out, which you should do. Otherwise it's very quick to get an ammonia spike and it can kill the young ones off, being that it's so sensitive. So basically what we need to do there is, once you start feeding them the brine shrimp and then you go into the beef heart, from the beef heart you'll continuously keep feeding them there. But as I stressed before, water changes are very, very important. So you've got to keep those up. Now, once they get to about the 9th or 10th week, so we're looking at basically about 2.5 months, then basically you can take the parents away and the babies themselves will be sustainable on the beef heart themselves. So the parents are away now and you've got them in the tank. Just keep going with the same thing that you're doing. You can use a beef heart. You can also introduce a little bit more of the brine shrimp, but you're weaning them off. And then slowly, as time goes on with the beef heart, you can start putting in some like granules, if you like, just soft granules. The best thing for them is just to soak them a bit in water for about 10 to 15 minutes, so they're not so hard for the babies to bite on it. So therefore, then what you'll need to do is you just keep up the beef heart, keep up feeding the granules, and they will start to grow very quickly from there onwards. But just remember too, some of these discus like we've had can have up to 200 to 300 eggs at a time, depending on the size. So just keep that in mind. And also, once they get to a good size, you'll be able to look at them and you might have to do some culling due to some deformities and things like that. Not a nice thing to do, but it's all part of fish keeping. You keep the good discus, and obviously you destroy the odd ones, the ones that haven't formed shape or anything like that. So it's quite an important task to do. No one likes doing it, but at the end of the day, you've got to do that. So at the end of the day, once you've gone through and got your discus on their way, then all it is a matter of just keep feeding them, keep water changes, and they'll grow to good size. So just with that formula, like we've said before, you know, it's good water changes. The temperature's got to be up big 28 to 30, and also the good food, and keep them feeding them up. Now, generally, try and keep ours fed, 3-4 times a day. So as you can see, it's a lot of water changes, but that's the best way you can get bigger discus. And at the end of the day, too, you'll be rewarded with lovely discus, and you've started it from scratch. Well, we hope you've got something out of this video in regards to your discus and the growth rate and the formulas that we use. Well, we'd like to thank you for watching our video. And if you'd like to press the like and give us a thumbs up, that'd be great, so that then we can share our knowledge and experience with other hobbyists and alike. Well, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.